What is the difference between anger and trauma, and why do churches mess this up all the time? Hi, I'm Shane, a former pastor who believes that you don't need the church to have good spirituality and faith. So, the first big difference I see between anger and trauma is that anger is a response that often reacts and projects outward, while trauma sort of inverts inward. So like you could say that anger speaks, trauma flinches, if that makes sense. Anger is going to be like, I'm not okay with this needs to change in the very nicest terms. Trauma is going to say, I'm not safe here, right? So the biggest difference between anger and trauma, as I see it, is that anger does tend to project outward, where trauma is a response that projects inward. And trauma can bring anger, but oftentimes it also brings silence. I guess anger can bring silence too, but then it's a seething rage, and eventually it's gonna blow up, right? But again, it's that response to the event itself, whereas in trauma is something that is like, if you've ever seen like an abused dog, right? That's trauma, right? If you go to pet an abused dog, it's gonna flinch. Whereas if you now, that's usually the case. You get enough trauma over enough amount of time, and there's a good chance that dog might bite too. And that's not anger, that's biting. And so that's part of the reason why the church has a problem with conflating anger and trauma, because sometimes if you've been traumatized long enough, that will manifest. It'll finally sort of maybe explode in some ways that are harmful to the others around you. And then so people are like, why are you so mad? When in reality, you've been traumatized for so long that now it's responsive in anger. But it's usually much more than anger. At that point, it's rage. It is beyond just being angry. Like my son spills milk all over the counter after being told to be careful, right? That can bring anger, but I'm not going to like burn down the house with it. Trauma, completely different. Also, the church never likes to own up to the fact that it can do either make people angry or bring them trauma, but especially that second one, even though it's really, really good at bringing the trauma. And so closely related to that is the second idea that anger is about what happened and trauma is about what keeps happening.